I want you to picture something with me for a second.
Yeah.
You are opening up a traditional wedding album.
Oh, sure. You know the exact physical weight of that kind of book.
Right. You turn those thick, heavy pages, and you know exactly what you're going to see. There it is, the perfectly steamed dress hanging in this pristine sunlit window.
Completely untouched.
Untouched, exactly. You flip the page, and there's the flawless tiered cake, standing tall, looking almost architectural. You flip again, and you see the reception tables before anyone has even entered the room.
Right, where every single fork is meticulously aligned.
Every knife, every glass, not a single napkin out of place.
Oh.
And I mean, it's beautiful. It's perfect.
It is entirely flawless, but if we're being honest, it's also entirely static. I mean, it looks like a museum exhibit before the doors actually open to the public.
A museum exhibit. That is a really great way to put it. But for today's deep dive, I want you to completely shatter that image.
Okay, shatter it.
Yeah. What if I told you that the most valuable photo of the entire night, like the one the couple actually frames, the one that makes them tear up 10 years later, isn't that posed perfect portrait?
Wait, really?
Yeah. What if the best photo in the album is like a tight shot of a half-eaten slice of cake sitting next to a crumpled, lipstick-stained napkin?
Oh, wow. I mean, that concept completely upends the traditional narrative of, what we consider valuable or even worthy of documenting at a major life event.
It really does, and that's exactly what we are getting into today. So welcome to the deep dive. We are exploring this massive sweeping shift in event photography, specifically focusing on a trend known as messy detail shots.
It's such a fascinating trend.
It totally is. To unpack this, we've pulled a stack of recent photography trend reports, industry guides, and we're actually leaning really heavily on some great resources from the Weddizer website.
Oh, yeah, they have great data on this.
Right. We're specifically digging into their business and logistics sections, where they actually map out how planners are adapting to this new demand. Plus, they have all these guidance articles related to this specific niche aesthetic.
Yeah, the logistics of it are wild.
So our mission today is to figure out why couples are suddenly ditching perfection, how photographers are, technically pulling this off without just taking pictures of actual garbage.
Which is a very fine line.
Exactly. And why the most beautiful moments of a celebration might actually be the absolute messiest ones.
Because it's a profound philosophical shift we're looking at here. We are, moving away from photography as a catalog of pristine objects purchased for the day and moving toward photography as a visceral record of the human experience.
Let's start by defining the anatomy of a messy detail shot. Because when you first hear the phrase, it almost sounds like an accident. Like the photographer just, forgot to clear the cocktail table before snapping a picture.
Right, like they were just being lazy.
Exactly. But looking through these trend reports, this is highly intentional artistic work.
Extremely intentional. I mean, the defining characteristic of a messy detail shot is that it's a close-up image deliberately capturing the imperfect, real-life, mid-action elements of an event.
So it's not staged at all.
Well, think about a traditional detail shot. The photographer might spend 20 minutes arranging the wedding rings on a perfectly smooth piece of silk using, tweezers to make sure the diamond is catching the light at exactly a 45-degree angle.
Oh, yeah, you see those behind-the-scenes videos all the time.
Exactly. The messy detail shot abandons that rigid curation. It embraces natural disarray.
The source material gives some incredibly vivid examples of this. We're talking about a table with half-finished drinks, condensation dripping down the glass, scattered confetti.
Yeah, or a bride's shoes, but not perfectly placed in a shoebox.
Right, after hours of dancing. Kicked off into the corner of the room with a scuff mark on the heel. Even makeup items just left open and scattered across a vanity during the morning prep.
The underlying psychology here is really about the concept of time. Traditional detail shots focus on what the eye sees at first glance, usually before the event has even really begun.
Before anyone gets there.
Right. They are photos of the planning. They document what things looked like before human beings arrived and interacted with them.
They document the potential of the day, rather than the reality of the day. I was thinking about this, and it's kind of like the difference between a staged open house and a home that looks like people actually live and laugh in it.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
You walk into an open house, and yes, the furniture is beautiful, the pillows are perfectly chopped, but it feels cold. It doesn't feel like anyone has ever had a deep, late-night conversation on that sofa.
Precisely. There's no soul in a staged room because it's just an ideal. But messy details freeze the human experience in time. They highlight moments after they've happened.
In the aftermath.
Yeah, they are the visual evidence of celebration, of movement, of raw emotion. Like when you photograph a pristine, empty champagne glass sitting on a table, it belongs in a catalog. But a lipstick stained glass sitting next to a half-empty bottle, you are photographing the aftermath of joy.
The aftermath of joy. That really tracks with how sensory recall works, doesn't it? Because when I look at a perfect photo of an untouched wedding cake, I feel like I'm looking at a bridal magazine.
Yeah.
I appreciate the baker's skill, sure.
But you don't feel anything.
Right. But when I see a tight shot of the smudged icing, the crumbs, the fork left on the plate, I can almost hear the music playing in the background.
Yeah.
My brain can almost taste the sugar.
That is exactly why this trend is dominating the industry right now. We live in a landscape of endless perfection. I mean, every image on our social media feeds is filtered, color-corrected, and perfectly posed.
Oh, totally. It's exhausting.
It really is. Perfection became the baseline expectation, and therefore it lost its emotional weight. It just became boring.
It's the pendulum swinging back. In a world of highly curated feeds, true authenticity is what actually stops you from scrolling.
And social media platforms themselves have amplified this trend. The data in our sources shows that raw, unfiltered, documentary-style content performs significantly better and engages people more deeply than overly polished visuals.
Which makes sense. People crave realness.
Absolutely. Couples are internalizing this. The core philosophical shift mentioned across these Weddizer articles is that couples are prioritizing documentary storytelling. They want photos that reflect how the day felt, not just how it looked.
How it felt. I love that sentiment. But I had to push back here for a second. On behalf of anyone listening who might be planning a major event, let's look at the harsh reality of the budget.
Okay, let's talk budget.
If I am paying a massive premium, thousands and thousands of dollars for a professional wedding photographer, shouldn't I demand that everything look absolutely flawless?
It's a fair question.
I mean, I paid a florist for perfect flowers. I paid a designer for the perfect layout. Why on earth would I want to look back in 20 years and see a photo of smudged makeup or a chaotic, messy table? Isn't there a risk I'm going to look at that and think, why did I pay $5,000 for a picture of trash?
It's a very valid concern, and honestly, it's the primary hurdle traditionalists have when they first encounter this style. But the counter-argument from these industry guides is that a crumpled napkin or a scuffed shoe isn't a picture of trash. It's a memory anchor.
A memory anchor.
Yeah. When you pay for a photographer, you aren't just paying them to inventory your purchases. You are paying them to document the lived experience. That scuffed shoe proves that the celebration actually happened.
It proves the joy was real.
Exactly. It proves that people weren't just mannequins standing rigidly in expensive clothes. And we're seeing this everywhere online. People are searching this up using tags like #messydetails and exploring these Weddizer aesthetics specifically to find photographers who can do this.
Okay, but how does this actually work logistically? Because if I take my phone right now and snap a picture of my messy desk, it's not a profound piece of documentary art.
No, it's really not.
It's just a cry for help. It's an ugly mess. How do photographers pull this off without the album looking like a disaster zone?
Well, this is where we get into the difference between true mess and curated chaos. It requires a highly strategic eye. And interestingly, this is where planners are using tools like the Weddizer website's business and logistics sections.
Oh, to plan the timeline.
Yes. They are actually building time into the logistical run of show specifically for the photographer to hunt for these messy details. It's not an afterthought, it's a scheduled priority.
Wait, so they are logistically scheduling time for the photographer to take pictures of the mess?
They absolutely are.
That is fascinating. So let's trace the arc of a wedding day, because the source material walks through how this mess evolves chronologically. It starts in the morning, right? The bridal suite.
Yeah, right. The morning preparation is all about capturing that nervous, buzzing energy. A pristine, perfectly tidy hotel room does not convey that energy. But here is where the curation comes in. The photographer isn't just shooting everything.
They're not shooting the dirty laundry.
No, exactly. They will physically remove the ugly mess. The tangled iPhone chargers, the bright blue plastic water bottles, the takeout bags.
So it's a subtraction method.
Exactly. They remove the distraction, but they leave the narrative mess. The scattered makeup brushes, the spilled setting powder, the half-drank mimosas, the discarded bobby pins.
Right, because that specific mess tells the story of anticipation and the communal experience of getting ready with your closest friends.
Yep. And then, as the day progresses toward the ceremony, the focus shifts to the personal touches. Again, avoiding the perfectly styled flat lays.
Right, no tweezers and silk ribbons.
Yes, this is why the intimacy comes in. Instead of the wings perfectly balanced on a macro lens, it's a tight shot of the vow books, but specifically focusing on the human elements,
Like what?
like a literal tear stain on the paper, or a slight fray on the silk ribbon tying the letters together, the smudge of ink where someone's hand brushed against the page. It adds an immense emotional weight that a perfect, pristine shot simply cannot achieve.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, so then we get to the reception, the dinner. And this brings up a great point about technique. Because if you've ever been at a nice restaurant with dim lighting and your food looks amazing, so you try to take an aesthetic photo of your dinner for Instagram.
We've all done it.
Right. And what happens? You take the photo and the phone flash makes it look completely unappetizing. It looks terrible. So how does a professional photographer look at a table full of half-eaten cake, spilled drinks, and crumpled napkins and turn it into art?
It entirely comes down to the mechanics of the lighting. Lighting is the mechanism that separates mess from masterpiece.
Masterpiece, really?
Oh, yeah. If you hit a messy reception table with flat, harsh, direct light, like your phone flash, it destroys all the depth. As you said, it looks unappetizing. It looks like the fluorescent lights just flicked on at a dive bar at 2 a.m.
The ultimate romance killer.
Right. So the text details very specific lighting mechanics used by these professionals. First, whenever possible, they utilize soft, directional, natural light. Soft light is crucial because it wraps around the objects, enhancing the microtextures of the mess.
It highlights the intricate folds of the crumpled linen napkin or the beads of condensation on the glass.
Yes, it gives it depth.
It almost gives it a painterly quality. When you describe it like that, I'm picturing a classical Dutch Golden Age still life painting of a banquet table. Those paintings are beautiful exactly because they look like someone just stood up and left the feast.
That is a perfect historical parallel. And when natural light fades, the technical magic really begins. They lean heavily on warm ambient tones, candles, string lights to make the mess feel cozy rather than abandoned.
Right, cozy mess.
But the absolute secret weapon mentioned in the technical guides is backlighting.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of backlighting because I think a lot of people hear that term and just think of a silhouette.
Yeah, it's more than that. Backlighting is when the photographer places a harsh, strong light source completely behind the subject, aiming back toward the camera. Think about a lipstick-stained glass sitting on a dark table.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If you light it from the front, it's flat. But if you put a flash behind it, it creates what's called a rim light. It draws a glowing outline around the physical texture of the glass, separating it from the dark, chaotic background of the room.
Oh, wow. So it isolates the subject from the clutter.
Exactly. And the physics of backlighting does something else incredible. It illuminates particles in the air.
Wait, really? Like dust?
Yes. If there is dust kicked up from the dance floor or fine powder scattered on a vanity, the backlight catches those particles and turns them into tiny glowing orbs. It literally takes the physical dirt and dust of the room and turns it into visual magic, creating this incredibly atmospheric, cinematic shot.
That is brilliant. Okay, so we've had dinner, we've had dessert. The backlighting is making the dust look like magic. Now we hit the peak of the dance floor.
The best part.
Right. And this brings up a technique that honestly shocked me when I read the source material. Motion blur. I mean, in the 90s, if you got your photos developed and they were blurry, you went back to the pharmacy and asked for a refund.
You'd be so mad.
A blurry photo was the ultimate photography sin. Now it's highly requested. Why?
Because motion blur mimics human memory. The technique here is called shutter drag. The photographer intentionally leaves the camera shutter open just a fraction of a second longer than normal while firing a flash to freeze the subject.
So you get a slightly sharp subject, but all the ambient light and movement stretches into these long, chaotic streaks of color.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense when you frame it around memory. Think about it when it's 11:000 p.m. You've had a few drinks, you're exhausted, the music is blasting, and you've been dancing with your friends for 2 hours. Your memory of that moment isn't a crisp, high-definition freeze-frame image.
Not at all.
Your memory is exactly that. A blur of color, lights, and movement.
Exactly. The camera is mimicking the physiology of the human eye and brain in a state of euphoria. A perfectly sharp, frozen photo of people dancing, often looks awkward.
Yeah, people have strange expressions. They're frozen mid-step.
But a motion-blurred photo of discarded high heels in the corner of the dance floor, with streaks of light zooming past. It conveys the sheer speed, the heat, and the electricity of the room. It feels exactly the way the night felt.